This is an official Automatic Systems Incorporated training video. First and foremost, remember to follow safety protocols. Lock out, tag out, and isolate all power to all connected equipment up and downstream. Always remember proper personal protective equipment. This content does not constitute professional advice, and viewers should consult relevant experts for their specific needs. Today, we will be demonstrating the process of motor replacement. The tools required are dead blow, a crescent wrench, a ratchet, a 5mm hex bit, and a torque wrench.
So in this video we're going to demonstrate mechanically removing a motor and reinstalling a motor on a piece of conveyor. When you're working on these in the field, these will be electrically connected to a power source. So always, without fail, make sure that the power is disconnected, locked out, and tagged out to these components before you start working on them. What you'll have is a disconnect in a remote location within generally 3 feet of the motor itself. That will have a piece of Seal-Tight running up into this Movi-Mod right here, and your electrical connections are made on the inside of this box. This is a new piece of conveyor that has not been wired yet, so we do not have that installed at this time. So we're gonna kind of move past that portion of disconnecting the electrical to the motor. But again, always, without fail, make sure that your power is locked out and tagged out to these pieces of equipment.
To begin, remove both 3/8 bolts which attach the yellow safety cover.
This anti-rotation brace right here is what we use to hold the motor upright. So just get those loose. So they're easily removable then when we're ready to do that. This is definitely a two-man job. If you don't have 2 people to do the lifting here, then by all means have a chain fall or come along that you can rig from above to a piece of building structure or something of that nature to support the weight of this while you're trying to move these around. We're going to remove the safety guard here and to expose the B-lock coupling that actually attaches the motor to the shaft. So once the cap's removed that exposes the B-lock coupling, then what we need to do is loosen the coupling bolts to remove this swedge fitting in here.
Use a 5mm Allen wrench and loosen bolts in a circular pattern.
One thing you don't want to do when you stick your pry bar or a wedge in here, do not pry against this into the body of the motor. This motor has a seal in here, and this B-lock fits just perfect into that opening where that seal is, and it will actually push against that and push that seal up into your motor. Get a bolt that fits into these threaded fittings right here, and that gives you something you can pry against. And then you can take a wedge or something like that and stick in there. And then you should be able just to pop that wedge, that swedge lock fitting right out of there. Do not push this hub into that opening. So at this point then, we just come back to these 2 bolts that we loosened up earlier. So at this point, now your anti-rotation arm, hold on a second, your anti-rotation arm is loose and you have nothing holding your motor upright. So before you get to this point, always have a plan of attack of what you're going to do with this motor. So you can rotate it over and then you can just slide it off this back brass wedge back here You can just slide it off and put it wherever you want to put your motor. With the motor, you'll receive an installation kit that consists of a brass taper lock bushing, a lock collar for the brass bushing. You'll have a B-lock hub and a taper lock bushing that inserts into your B-lock hub.
Slide the locking collar on with the set ring facing out, then slide the bushing on.
Slide your bushing to where you have 8 3/4 from the end of the bushing to the end of the shaft.
With help, slide the motor on.
So then your B-lock goes on next. And then your bushing slides up into here.
Reinsert the bolts on the anti-rotation arm until finger tight.
At this point, go ahead and tighten up your locking collar. You have a, on your locking collar, as well as your B-lock hub, you have stamped on here the torque values for these. So this particular bolt should be tightened to 18 foot-pounds. So now we have our torque wrench set to 18 foot-pounds. For this locking collar, we can go ahead and lock that in place. It doesn't take a whole lot on these. 18 foot-pounds are very little. So now we slide our ring fetter B-lock hub up onto the shaft, the through shaft of the motor, and we insert our wedge fitting into that. Then I'll just take a dead blow and tap around on it a little bit, and then finger tighten. Just take finger tighten your screws here. And I always do this on top and bottom. Just finger tight, so you get it. It doesn't have. It's not going to be real snug, but it will be to the point where it can't move. Then just take your other ones, tighten them down, finger tight, just to where they touch the surface. With a standard size ratchet, take your Allen driver, start at the very top, and just do a quarter turn all the way around. Take this one to where it touches and do a quarter turn.
Once the normal ratchet can only turn 1/16 of a turn, set your torque wrench to 10% above the recommended value. In this case, it would be 9.9 foot-pounds.
Set it at about 9.5 to 10 pounds. If it doesn't click off, that's fine. Just go until you're comfortable with it. This is, again, going to take several trips around. I'm just using one finger down here and my thumb up here. That's all the leverage that I need to get this to turn where I need it to go. And then I'll call that good. So all your bolts are torqued to spec. What I like to do after I get my bolts torqued, I always make sure I put a witness mark on them. In this case, I generally use a paint stick, but in this case I'll just use a Sharpie, and I'll just put a tick mark at each one of them that they've all been torqued. If you have too much of your shaft sticking out of your coupling here, when you put your cap on, that shaft will actually rub the inside of your safety cap, and it will get very hot. I've seen them get red hot just from the friction of this. And if somebody happens to walk by and hit it with their arm or their leg or whatever, then it can cause a pretty severe burn. So this is a safety issue as well. And just put your bolts on. Go ahead and finish tightening these up here. So there you have it, the new motor's installed. And then back to always make sure that you have a good, experienced, licensed electrician to wire these back in. Wire this to your disconnect the way the old motor was. Then you should be able to power these up, start them up, and run with it.
Thank you for choosing Automatic Systems. For further inquiries, contact 816-356-0660.